Welcome to Lecture 10 of this series on critical reflections on the EU's data protection regime, a book co-edited by Dr. Róisín Costello and Dr. Mark Leiser. That's me. In Lecture 10, Dr. Costello's chapter examines Article 82 of the GDPR and the developing law of compensation for non-material damage. The doctrinal question is whether experiences such as upset, exposure, loss of control, or fear or future misuse can count as compensable damage. The deeper question concerns the character of the GDPR itself. Is it principally a market harmonizing instrument that creates uniform rules for the digital economy, or a fundamental rights measure that must recognize the lived social consequences of unlawful processing? The chapter uses Article 82 as a lens through which to examine that unresolved constitutional relationship. The regulation speaks in two registers. Its social function protects autonomy, dignity, privacy, well-being, and the broader rights listed in Recital 4. Its market function removes barrier to data flows, improves legal certainty, supports competition, and helps the digital economy operate across the internal market. The text does not place these functions in separate compartments. Recital 2 links economic and social progress, while other recitals connect trust and rights protection to the development of the digital market. Dr. Costello therefore asks whether 82 jurisprudence treats the two functions as rivals, parallel tracks, or parts of an integrated constitutional whole. The historical account explains why the tension persists. The early European communities emerged through economic integration rather than a comprehensive social constitution. Fundamental rights entered community law incrementally through the court's general principles jurisprudence and later received institutional expression in the treaties and the charter. Even then, rights protection remained intertwined with the legitimacy, primacy, and effectiveness of the European legal order. The GDPR inherits that history. It sits within the Union's fundamental rights architecture, yet it also rests on the internal market project and promotes harmonized economic activity. The regulation therefore carries the imprint of a market constitution that gradually acquired an explicit rights identity. Costello turns to Karl Polanyi to challenge the idea that the market exists separately from society. A disembedded view treats social protection as an external constraint on an autonomous economic order. A Polanyian view recognizes that markets are legally and institutionally constructed, organize social relationships, and generate consequences for human well-being. On that account, rights protection is not simply a cost imposed on the data economy, it forms part of the conditions under which the market operates legitimately. Article 82 becomes a point of re-embedding because compensation can make the social consequences of unlawful data processing visible inside a market regulating instrument. Article 82 therefore requires three cumulative elements: an infringement of the GDPR, material or non-material damage, and a causal link between the two. A breach by itself is not enough. The controller may also avoid liability if it proves that it was not responsible for the event giving rise to the damage. This structure rejects automated compensation, but it leaves the meaning of non-material damage open. The difficult question is not whether every technical breach deserves money. It is which experiences EU law is willing to recognize as a legally cognizable harm, how claimants prove those experiences, and how national procedure should value them without fragmenting the regulation's harmonized standard. In UI versus Österreichische Post, the claimant objected to the Postal Service's collection of political affinity data and alleged upset, loss of confidence, and a feeling of exposure. The court held that infringement alone does not create a right to compensation. Damage and causation must be shown. At the same time, it rejected a minimum seriousness threshold for non-material damage. Member states cannot require an injury to cross an independently defined level of gravity before Article 82 applies. The judgment therefore rejects both extremes. Compensation is not automatic, but neither may national courts exclude modest harms through a de minimis rule. The claimant must prove damage. The law cannot predetermine that the damage is too small to count. Later cases moved the doctrine towards lived and anticipatory harms. In VX and AT versus Gemeinde Ummendorf, the court again rejected a national de minimis threshold where personal information had briefly appeared online. In VB, following a cyber attack on the Bulgarian Revenue Service, the court accepted that fear of possible future misuse can constitute non-material damage if the fear is genuine, proved, and well-founded. Recitals 85 and 146 support a broad understanding that includes loss of control and apprehension even before misuse has occurred. The remaining difficulty lies in proof. The requirement that fear be well-founded may reintroduce variation through national assessments of credibility and seriousness. The chapter also distinguishes compensation from strict liability and punitive damages. Drawing on the Advocate General's analysis, available at the time of writing, Costello explains that Article 82 aims to compensate damage fully and effectively, not to punish as an independent objective. A controller can escape liability by proving that it was not responsible for the event, yet pending questions about deterrence reveal an unresolved issue. Can a purely compensatory model acknowledge a rights breach whose principal injury is normative, relational, or social rather than economic? The answer will shape whether Article 82 remains a narrow, private law remedy or contributes to the wider enforcement and constitutional functions of the GDPR. Many Article 82 claims seek modest sums. Their importance may lie less in monetary value than in legal recognition. Costello describes this as a form of normative damage. The award requires a controller and the legal order to acknowledge the social harm produced by loss of control, exposure, apprehension, or fear. This does not eliminate proof, causation, or proportional assessment of quantum. It does show how a market instrument can recognize the lived reality of rights violations. Article 82 thereby illustrates the possible reintegration of the Union's economic and social identities. Data flows remain regulated for the market, but the law also accounts for what unlawful processing does to people. The unresolved questions extend beyond damages doctrine. Courts must decide what counts as damage, how national procedure can assess it consistently, whether compensation has any dissuasive dimension, and how Article 82 relates to administrative fines and parallel national claims. These choices will reveal how willing the Union is to integrate market efficiency with substantive rights protection. The chapter does not claim that the tension has disappeared. It argues that the court's growing attention to loss of control, fear, and other social harms offers a compelling indication that data protection now functions as an active part of the Union's fundamental rights order. So Dr. Costello's central point to me is that Article 82 does not compensate infringement in the abstract. It requires proven damage and causation. Yet the concept of damage increasingly includes experiences that have no obvious market price. The final lecture draws the collection together and examines the book's account of cross-border enforcement, the proposed procedural reform, and the continuing question of whether the GDPR can convert ambitious rights into consistent institutional practice.